It's homecoming. Memphis is coming to town.
Yes, conference play is here, and the Owls look ahead to Game 3 in their 3-game homestand. Plus,
reporting from Lincoln Financial Field, we have a recap of Temple's Week 4 game against Wagner. Inside the Nest is live, and it starts right now.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Inside the Nest. I'm Jackson Neal alongside Ray Dunn. We have a jam-packed show today as Temple is set to begin conference play this week.
And we'll take you to Lincoln Financial Field where the Owls look to wrap up non-conference play on a high note. First, however, is a notable departure from the program.
On Monday, quarterback Real Mitchell announced that he will be leaving Temple University and transferring to another program. Mitchell joined the Owls in the spring of 2020 after transferring from Iowa State, who signed him coming out of high school. The California native saw limited action last season, appearing in 3 games and throwing for 233 yards with 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. This season, he slipped down the depth chart, and even with an injury to starter D'Wan Mathis, Mitchell was unable to see playing time. He currently has 2 years of eligibility remaining.
Getting back on the field now, the Owls had to shuffle the deck a little bit on Saturday. Returning to the fold was starting quarterback D'Wan Mathis, but he was without his top 2 wide receivers in Jaden Blue and Randall Jones, both out with injuries. Temple and Wagner from the Link.
Let's go!
The Cherry Crusade was ready to go, but the football team, not so much. Wagner's Ricky Spruill takes the handoff from midfield and puts the burners on. Cornerback Cameron Ruiz is able to track him down, but all of Spruill's hard work results in a Gwenson Alexis 1-yard score. The Seahawks led 7-0 after the first quarter, meaning Temple has now been outscored 47-7 in the opening quarter of games this season. Temple responds on its second drive with a 1-yard run from Kyle Dobbins, the first of the New Jersey native's collegiate career, but certainly not his last of the day. 10-7 Temple now, and Wagner is trying to make something happen. It's Manny Walker once again. The big man nabs his second interception of the season to set Temple up in Seahawk territory. 3 plays later, Dobbins is looking for seconds, and Temple's lead extends to double digits. The halftime score is 17-7 in favor of the Owls. After a field goal on the half's opening drive from the Owls, Temple begins to dominate. D'Wan Mathis found a rhythm and connects with Ahmad Anderson for 27 yards. The Purdue transfer caught 5 passes for 47 yards, the highest marks of his young Temple career. Once again, it's Dobbins to punch in the touchdown. 27-7 Owls, a hat trick of scores to go along with his 13 carries for 61 yards. Now it's QB1's turn to get in on the fun. Mathis firing deep to Cadis Reams to get himself on the scoreboard. Mathis finished 22 of 33 passes with 292 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. That second touchdown, another beauty to Reams, making it 41-7 in favor of the home team. Temple scores 41 unanswered and improves to 2-2. Good news for the Owls and for their starting quarterback and his healing ankle.
There's a lot to clean up. There's no question there's a lot to clean up. But we did get reps in today. We were successful winning the game, and that's game reps are like 2-to-1 practice reps. We needed to see how the ankle responded all week from the work that he was doing. So Thursday when he got through that, that's when we really kind of understood.
I felt pretty good. It was a couple of things I couldn't do. Just going out there and knowing, like, on third down, usually I'm effective with my legs and I have an opportunity to extend plays. But that was kind of like shortened the day. I had like a shortened leash. You know, just getting the ball out of my hands as quick as possible, reading the coverage, knowing where I got to go with the ball and making decisive decisions.
It was total domination by the Owls in this one. Temple gained more than 400 total yards, which is nearly 250 more than Wagner. The Seahawks couldn't get anything going through the air. Quarterback Gwenson Alexis threw for just 36 yards as Temple now has the best-ranked pass defense in terms of yardage in the country. Meanwhile, Temple's pass offense had its best day of the season. 6 different players had receiving yards in the double figures, including Jose Barbone, who exploded for 130 yards on 8 catches. All of that equated to the most important stat. It was Temple's largest margin of victory this season.
And you got to see Juwan Mathis play football and play it at a high level for an entire game. He looked very good. I think that's the one big takeaway from that game. A lot of indication on Kyle Dobbins, 3 touchdowns, 61 yards, the leading rusher in this game. And just going through that entire lineup of skilled players, you were without a lot of the top guys on the depth chart on that offensive side, but you still had people producing. Jose Barbone, Ahmad Anderson, Kadis Reams, all with big days.
Yeah, it really was a big day for Temple in a lot of aspects, but one thing that I want to focus on is that early portion of the game, getting down 7-0 early. So far this season, Temple has not led in the first quarter at all. That's going to be tough with conference play coming up. These are good opponents they're facing. It's not going to be teams like Wagner or Akron where you can come back from those early deficits.
Absolutely not. It's not going to work against Memphis. The one thing that is really encouraging going into that Memphis game, you mentioned the pass defense and how successful they've been. They've allowed, on average, less than 100 yards per game passing over the last 3 games. If that's something that can carry over against a team like Memphis, they'll be in a good place.
Yeah, certainly Memphis has a huge passing offense, so they can shut that down. They'll have a good chance against the Tigers. And in the blowout win, Juwan Mathis was Temple's biggest performer. It was his first game back from injury, and he had the best game of his college career. His 292 passing yards surpassed his career total of 237 heading into the game, and he had his first multi-touchdown performance at the collegiate level. After up-and-down play from true freshman Justin Lynch the past couple weeks, Mathis was able to come in and look like a QB in charge. It was just the game Mathis needed heading into conference play.
The Owls are in the middle of a season-long 3-game homestand. That means fans, and a bit more fans.
Yes, it's been a long time coming thanks to COVID. Let's head out live to the practice facility at Edberg Olson Hall, where Emily Cochran had one of those tough jobs on Saturday. She got to hang out in Lot K. Hey, Em.
Thanks, guys. This past weekend, I had the chance to speak with a bunch of Temple fans who haven't been able to tailgate in nearly 2 years thanks to COVID. These tailgaters were barbecuing, hanging out with their families and friends, but I think they were most excited to be back at the link mask-free with very limited COVID restrictions. For the Temple football fans,
it feels so good to be back.
It's been about 2 years. COVID locking out fans from the stands and from the parking lots. But thanks to Temple's 3-game homestand, the gates are now open and tailgaters are hosting their parties once again.
It's nice to just feel normal, be normal, and just know that people can see you. You can see smiles again. You can see laughter again.
And those smiles lasted all day. Hundreds of cars lined up and down K-Lot in true game day style for Temple's Week 4 matchup against Wagner.
Just being in this big environment, playing at an NFL stadium, it's crazy. That's the only way I can describe it.
These tailgates are especially important to the freshman and sophomore Temple students who have missed out on several Temple game day experiences due to COVID.
It's so much fun. I feel like it's a totally different experience than my freshman year. I don't even really know how to count that as like the college experience. I never got to go to a football game. It's like a total reset, but it's so much better.
This total reset includes live music, enough food to add to the freshman 15, and of course, the traditional tailgating games.
Being at the link is super exciting because we don't have the social distance and we can be around tons of people, so I'm super excited about that, and especially being a freshman, like I get to have my freshman experience, so I'm super excited.
This sense of game day normalcy was lost all of last season. Thousands of fans showed up in cherry and white gear while cherishing time with loved ones.
And of course, cooking up good meals right before kickoff.
Coming back is amazing. I can cheer on the team and it gets me through the week, so yeah, go Owls.
Next week, it will only get better with homecoming. Mask-free fans and their smiles back in the link to wrap up the homestand versus Memphis. Temple has averaged about 22,500 fans within its last 2 games. But this number is expected to go up as we approach the homecoming game this Saturday. Reporting from Edberg Olson Hall, I'm Emily Cochran. Ray and Jackson, back to you guys.
Thanks, Emily. Just hours after Emily was done covering Temple football, she was honored with the Crystal Pillar Award at the Mid-Atlantic Emmys. She won for Best Sports Story or Segment with help from Al Sports Update's Brielle Berry. Their story aired in February on former Temple basketball player Khadijah Bowens and the charity events that she runs for her local community. That's a big-time honor. And when we come back, Ray and I will preview Memphis. We'll hear from Coach Rod Carey, all before getting into No Huddle. Don't go anywhere. Inside the Nest is back in just 90 seconds. Welcome back to Inside the Nest. Rod Carey addressed the media in his weekly press conference Monday.
In part one, Coach Carey talks about another slow start. He grades his quarterback's performance and updates us on his bad ankle.
Obviously, we got to work yesterday and got working on cleaning up a lot of the sloppiness offensively. Certainly in the game from Saturday. Sunday, minus that first drive again where we had a free hitter on that fourth down that led to their only score, was pleased with the defense the entire day. And then special teams, minus the one turnover, which we just got to get him coached up about when and where to pick up the ball or not pick up the ball. On bounces like that, was pleased with the special teams as well. And, second half came out and, 24-0, did what we were supposed to do. Certainly was happy with that outcome, but our execution on offense was just sloppy the entire day. So, we'll get back to work tomorrow morning. So with that, we can open it up for questions.
Kyle Dobbins has been around since you've been at Temple, but he really got his flowers this past Saturday. What have you seen in terms of his progression over the last couple of years, and what he was able to do on Saturday?
Kyle has worked. He was one of those guys that pushed through the entire fall camp. Didn't miss, was available, and certainly last week had a good week of practice and has kept pushing, and so that got him in a situation where he earned what he got on Saturday. And it's amazing when you, it's an amazing trick in football, and I say that completely facetiously, is that when you practice good, you play good. That's an amazing thing that I think sometimes we like to look at highlight reels as a society and think that just happens. It doesn't. And so I was proud of Kyle.
I talked about how much Dewan hasn't really played a lot of football. So just how important was it just for him to get some snaps on Saturday?
Yeah, very. He's kind of an understatement. Certainly liked his approach better. Actually, him and I just had a conversation this morning, and it was it's always a good conversation with me and him, but he certainly was more focused on what he had to do and how he had to do it. And that was good compared to Rutgers last game, his approach there. So really liked that.
Rod, just to follow up on Dewan, what did you think of his overall body of work, just looking at the film? And then how did he feel, just coming off an injury and playing a full game for the first time? How did he feel on Sunday and today, just coming off of it?
Yeah, I certainly think that he's not 100% yet. I think that's evident. You saw that on Saturday, but he's getting there and came out relatively good from the game. As far as his play, there's a lot to clean up still, but there was some really high-end execution as well. And, just got to keep going. I mean, it's not a switch that's going to turn on and turn off. It's something that we just have to keep repping as we go here.
With guys like Wagner getting healthy and Dobbins, having the big game he did, how do you see your running back rotation playing out? I know you don't like to play more than 2 or 3 guys.
Yeah, I don't know how to play out as we sit here on Monday because we got to go practice and they got to earn it. I think there's has been
since we started fall camp. There's been great competition there. I certainly think Ed has been the most consistent as far as execution and durability, but there is great competition there every week. So we'll see how that ends up after Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Last question I have for you is just about, it seems like over these past couple of weeks that Manny Walker has really started to kind of, come around as a guy who could be a presence and an edge rusher for you. Can you just talk about what you've seen from his development?
Yeah, I think that started in the offseason and how he approached his weight and his strength and developing that to the point where he has. And you're seeing dividends pay off of that hard work that started back in January for him.
A lot from Carey there in part one, including some praise for the offense.
Yeah, some praise for the offense. I think the discussion there really starts with the health of D'Wan Mathis, and then just the concept, again, of D'Wan Mathis just playing football. It's been a long road for him in college football with not a lot of reps along the way, and I think that the conversation about these slow starts might be shifted once D'Wan Mathis has played a lot more football. I think that he took a difficult start in that game because of the nature of the situation he was put into with that offense. He hadn't been with them, hadn't worked with a lot of first-team guys because of them being out with injury. The slow start might be a bit telling of what he has gone through so far.
No, certainly. It was his first time playing in quite some time, and really one of his first starts at the collegiate level in general. One thing that I really wanted to touch on there about Rod Carey and what he said was the running back situation. We saw Kyle Dobbins have a fantastic game this past weekend, but one thing he did mention is he's not really sure who he's going to have going forward to the next game. So far this season, we've seen a rotation of running backs, which we expected coming into the season. Carey did mention that he was going to play a lot of different backs throughout the year, but so far we've seen 5 or 6 running backs throughout this season. It's a constant stable, and I feel like there's almost no chance for any running back to gain some momentum and get into a rhythm out there on the field.
Yeah, so it would make for a great no-huddle topic.
Oh, it really would.
Not teasing anything there. One thing to touch on really quick before we get to part 2, the special teams. Have to clean up the special teams mistakes in those games. I mean, it was a difficult place for them to make that mistake. They have to be better with that. Now we are going to take you to part 2 of Carey's presser, where he touches on injuries for many of his other players, including his top 2 wide receivers. This, in addition to talking about Memphis and its strong air attack.
Hey, Rod, just first question, any injury updates on Randall Jones and Jaden Blue?
Yeah, Jaden fully expect to have him tomorrow in practice. And then Randall still day-to-day. Really much improved. I can tell you that Sunday, when I got the injury report this morning, early in the morning, we hadn't seen him yet. He wasn't up yet. It's player's day off, but certainly in the day-to-day yet.
What was Jaden's injury?
I'm not going to go into all that. I mean, I don't know what I can and can't say about different things. I've gotten in trouble before about that, so I'm just not going to, upper body, right, Rich? Can we say something like that? Upper body.
Mm-hmm.
So something from his waist up.
You've had, I think, Bonner and Blair and Winston have been day-to-day for a couple weeks now. Are they still day-to-day, or you think they could be back?
Yeah, I think that what I'm hearing about Bonner with day-to-day is that I think he'll be out there practicing tomorrow. And Blair as well is what I'm hearing. And then with Deshaun, I'm hopeful tomorrow, but don't probably know as much to see how it reacts in the morning more than the other 2.
I think I wanted to ask about David Martin Robinson, just how it's been, I guess, three weeks out maybe from surgery. Is he any idea about when he might be able to practice again?
We've been told that it'll be 6 to 8 weeks. And they're going to kind of, after the 4th week, I think they told me, they'll do another assessment to see where in that 6 to 8 weeks it actually lies after 4 weeks.
Is there anything new on Iverson Clement? What's his status now?
Yeah, he's no longer with the team, so he's moving on from there. Conference play, we start this week, so we got a good opponent coming in. Explosive offense, good defense, good in special teams. They're always good, and this year's no different. even though they got a different cast of characters in there. You know, they're still running a lot of the same things, but doing it at a high level.
Hey, Rod, in terms of getting the defensive guys ready for Memphis, what do you sort of focus on? You haven't really faced right tempo too much in these first 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, Rutgers had some tempo elements. You know, so did Akron in there. And these guys will change tempo. They're not always going at breakneck speed, but certainly go fast at times and use the huddle as well. So, yeah, you know, it's kind of normal college football. You got to be ready for the fast stuff and the slow stuff.
Are you doing anything special to prepare for the Memphis passing attack, especially Calvin Austin?
Well, we do some, you know, we game plan every week, Nick. So something special, something out of the ordinary, I think always is indicative to the team that you're playing. You're always tweaking things for each game that you're playing. And this week's no different. I mean, number 4 is a dynamic player and you have to know where he is.
With Memphis, they're coming off a loss to UTSA. How would you describe what they do defensively, with the exception of their opener, where they had a little bit of a comfortable margin there? They've been in some close games, a lot of high-scoring games. How would you describe what you see on film with them defensively?
Yeah, they're a good team defensively. I think they've played some really good offenses, and in today's college football, that seems to be. You know, how it goes is that you try to hold down offenses. I don't know that you can stop them totally ever. So I think they've done a good job being an opportunistic defense and certainly have good players on that side. So I see a strong defense, certainly, that we're going against. As far as knowing the league a little bit and going through it, certainly, you know, you have a good respect for the league. It's a really good league, and Memphis is always right there. And, you know, they're always very good, very explosive on offense, sound on defense, and good in the kicking game. And that certainly hasn't changed this year.
Rod Carey playing the role of medical professional, really, at the beginning of his availability there. What are you taking away from all of that laundry list of injuries?
Certainly, it's the injuries to the wide receiver positions. I mean, you look at somebody like Jaden Blue and Randall Jones. Getting them back going forward is going to be really, really important for this Temple football team, because against a team like Memphis, he talked about their high-flying passing attack. The Owls are going to need to put up points against the Tigers. And if they want to do that, they're going to need their top 2 wide receivers. Obviously, it's hard to hear that Martin Robinson's going to be out for an extended period of time. It's hard to replace his production. But right now, I'm going to be looking at Blue and Jones. Are they going to be able to get back in time for this game this Saturday?
Yeah, I think something that might have been undersold within this Memphis offense is their ability to run the ball. They are averaging 5.1 yards per carry so far this season. They do have Calvin Austin, but when you look at this Temple's defense's strength, it's been at stopping the pass so far this season. So I'm not really sure that I'm all as concerned about the passing attack as much as I am just the overall game plan to stop a Memphis offense that's multifaceted.
Yes, certainly. I mean, you look at this Temple defense right now, they're allowing about 173 yards per game on the ground. That's not a good look, especially going against a good rushing attack like Memphis. The Owls really are going to need to have a balanced kind of outlook on defense if they're going to try to stop the Tigers.
Yeah, really. I think when you look at what they've been able to do for this Temple defense, they're going to need to just be sure up front, maybe put some pressure on the quarterback every once in a while too.
Certainly, win that about the line of scrimmage. It's now time for us to take another break. We've got Carey's thoughts. On Memphis coming up. It's our turn. We look ahead to this Saturday and preview the Owls' conference opener against Memphis. Don't go anywhere. Inside the Nest, we'll be right back.
We're clear.
Welcome back to Inside the Nest. While Temple is feeling good after last week's win, this Saturday they open up conference play against Memphis, a team that's one of the Americans' best.
They've been bowl eligible every year since 2014 and scored a 41-15 record in the conference during that time. The Tigers finished third in the AAC last season and won the Montgomery Bowl over FAU at 25-10. They were led by quarterback Brady White, who threw for more than 3,300 yards and 31 touchdowns in 11 games last season. Now, there's a new signal caller in Seth Hennigan. He had his best game against Arkansas State, tossing 5 touchdowns and completing 2/3 of his passes. As a team, Memphis hasn't been overly impressive but did beat Mississippi State in Week 3. They've had some struggles running the ball and haven't been stout defensively.
While Memphis has had a lot of success recently, there are still some holes to this squad. For Temple, if they want to beat the Tigers, it's going to come down to the passing game. Right now, Memphis is allowing an average of 348 yards through the air each game. That's second worst in the entire country. Meanwhile, Temple is allowing only 108 yards, which is the best in the FBS. Now, Memphis is averaging nearly 40 points a game, but if the Owls are able to contain the Tigers' high-flying offense and then exploit their shaky pass defense, that's a recipe for success for the Owls. That means that D'Wan Mathis will have to follow up his 290-yard, 2-touchdown day against Wagner with a similar performance.
Memphis needs to get pressure on the quarterback. That's their key for success. They've ranked in the top 3 of the AAC in sacks in the last 3 seasons, but have only gotten 6 sacks in their first 4 games this season. When Temple upset the Tigers in 2019, the Owls kept their quarterbacks upright and did not allow a sack. The offensive line play has been up and down to start the season for the Owls and has allowed D'Wan Mathis to take some big hits. Memphis will need to generate pressure to keep the young quarterback off balance all game long, especially considering the lingering question of Mathis's health. If the Tigers can create some chaos up front, they'll walk out of the link with their 4th win of the season.
Another key for Memphis is that this game is taking place in Week 5 because so far, the Owls haven't had much success in odd-numbered weeks. Starting with their 61-14 loss to Rutgers in Week 1, and then their 28-3 defeat in the 3rd week to Boston College, Temple has been outscored by more than 10 touchdowns in odd weeks. That's compared to their plus 55 margin in their even-numbered week games. These numbers show that Temple has been very inconsistent this season, and they'll need to change that now that they'll be playing good opponents each week in conference play.
Saturday is also homecoming. Call your favorite alum and make your way to K-Lot for some early morning shenanigans, some tomfoolery, some ballyhoo. The lots will be open up early. The homecoming tailgate village opens up at 8:30 a.m. and will remain open until kickoff at noon. Within the village, there will be a number of tents for organizations and colleges within the Temple community. On a personal note, make sure you're at K-Lot by 10 o'clock to see yours truly and my good friend Zach Demuse join the Temple Athletics pregame show.
If you can't make it to the game, it's being streamed nationally on ESPNU, and you can follow along at Owl Sports Update on Twitter, where we'll be posting live updates all afternoon.
It's time for another break. When we come back, it's time for your favorite 6 minutes of the week.
That's right. We'll be going no huddle when Inside the Nest returns in just 90 seconds.
Welcome back to Inside the Nest. Not to brag, but Jackson and I have yet to get a game prediction wrong.
Transfers, conference predictions, and more. It's time to go no huddle. All right, question number 1. We've seen 5 different running backs get carries this season. Which one has been the biggest standout so far?
This is a what have you done for me lately sport. I'm going with Kyle Dobbins because he's really been someone to get excited about within this program for the last couple of years and finally is showing it to the coaches in practice and to the fans on Saturday. The 13 carries for 61 yards and 3 touchdowns on Saturday proves that he right now is up at the top of that depth chart. And with 4.7 yards per carry, he's getting it done efficiently. He's going to be near at the top of that depth chart while the rest of the backs all are working their way back towards where he is right now.
You know what's better than 4.7 yards per carry? 6.4. That's what Tavon Ruley is averaging right now, 19 carries, but leads the team in rushing with 122 yards. Also, in his time at Temple over the past 3 seasons, he has yet to lose a fumble. He's been very consistent the past 3 weeks, and right now, that's what Temple needs, some consistency. There's been so many running backs getting carries. Let's pick a guy or two and just have them get most of the carries, get some rhythm going in that backfield. I think Tavon Ruley has been the standout back so far, and I want to see him get more carries going forward.
That's the beautiful thing about running back by committee. Both of us could end up being right on this question about the feature back by the end of this season. Now, moving on to another piece of that offense, or a piece really that's moving away from this offense, Real Mitchell, we mentioned earlier in this show, has entered the transfer portal. Where do you think he will end up?
Well, right now, Real Mitchell, this Temple was his second school that he went to. He originally went to Iowa State coming out of high school. He was a highly touted recruit, high 3-star recruit, was invited to an Elite 11 camp, came into Iowa State with a lot of expectations. Well, he wasn't able to win the starting job there. Brock Purdy was in front of him. So he transfers to Temple. In his time at Temple, when he got here back in 2020, he hasn't really produced all that much. He didn't get the starting job last season. When he did play, had multiple interceptions, only 1 touchdown. And then coming into this season, more expectations. But what happened? He slipped even further down the depth chart to being a 4th string behind a true freshman and 2 other brand new transfers. Right now, Real Mitchell has not produced at the college level that much. I'm looking at him, I'm saying the FCS might be the way to go. He has not been able to produce at the FBS level so far.
I understand what you're saying, but I do think that he will remain an FBS quarterback. I think he might move further down within the group of 5, maybe to a conference like the Mountain West. He is from the West Coast, might move back closer to home. He has talent. It has to be tantalizing to some program out there looking to bolster their quarterback room.
Yeah, it really must be, but still, it's tough to see him continually drop down the depth chart. All right, next question. Let's look at the AAC as a whole. Which team in the conference is the biggest threat to 7th-ranked Cincinnati?
This is a process of elimination, really. This is by default. I thought coming into the season, UCF was going to have a good year. Dylan Gabriel now is injured and has no timetable for a return. So that puts the Knights in a weird spot. Memphis, usually amongst the upper echelon of teams. I think there's some holes in their game right now. So I'm going with SMU. I think SMU right now sitting at 4-0, hasn't really been shown to have too many holes in their game. They've played rather well. I don't know if they're really at the level you would expect a 2nd place American Athletic Conference team right now in the season, but maybe it's not a great year for the American.
I'm going to have to agree with you on this one. A rare agreement between us here on No Huddle, but I'm picking SMU as well. Right now, they're the only other team in the American that is undefeated. You mentioned Dylan Gabriel being out for UCF. That really is a big blow to the Golden Knights offense. But SMU, let's not discount them so fast. So far, their offense has been scoring a lot. Tanner Mordecai, the transfer from Oklahoma, has led a Mustangs offense that's putting up an average of 43 points per game. Also 20 touchdown passes on the year. That's the best in the FBS. Number 2 behind him, it has 15. So this SMU offense has been doing a lot. I can see them maybe taking down the Bearcats' elite defense.
Wow, getting bold here. We touted this at the beginning of No Huddle. We've been good with game predictions. Jackson, what is your game prediction for this weekend?
I'm going to have to say that Memphis is going to win this football game. Memphis, the first 3 weeks looked really, really strong, going 3-0, including a win over a good Mississippi State football team. Last week, they faltered a little bit, and at first glance, losing to the University of Texas San Antonio does not look good. But then you look a little deeper into it. Right now, the Roadrunners are 4-0. They even received votes to be ranked in this week's AP Top 25, so they're not as bad of a football team as you might expect. I can see Memphis winning this one 38-17. I think Temple's going to be able to put up some points in this Tigers team. After all, Memphis did give up 50 to a bad Arkansas State team earlier this season, but still I don't see the Owls being able to pull out of this one.
I have Memphis winning this game as well. 31-20 though. I think it's a closer game than you expect. Again, I'm not as high on this Memphis team as I once was. I think there are some holes in their game, especially defensively. I think the Owls will be able to keep up just a bit with this Tigers team. And offensively for the Tigers, I'm not totally, once again, sold on what they've got going on. I think they have taken a step back at quarterback without Brady White this season. So if we continue to be correct, it means an Owls loss this weekend. Who do you think's stepping up for this Owls team?
Right now, it's going to have to say Jaden Blue. If he's able to come back from injury, that would be a big, big addition for this Owls offense.
It's going to have to be Dwan Mathis for me.
Well, after that quick sprint down the field, we need to huddle up and take our final timeout of the day. We're discussing standout players of the season so far and more on the other side. Inside the Nest, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Inside the Nest. The season is a third of the way finished, so it's time to take a look at who has caught our eyes so far.
For more, we go to Inside the Nest reporter Eric Jessberger, who is over at the studio set. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Thanks, Jackson and Ray. The 2021 season has seen the Owls split their 4 games so far. Among the ups and downs for the Owls on the field, here are some players we've seen have peak performances in the 240 minutes played out so far this fall. Starting on the offensive side of the ball, you cannot talk about Juwan Mathis enough. The adversity of returning from injury suffered in Week 1, and yet through visible signs of lingering pain, throw for 22 of 32 and 2 passing touchdowns in his Week 4 return. To go along with a rushing touchdown, the kid just doesn't quit. 60 yards shy of 500 passing yards in just 2 games sees the starting quarterback coming into the season start to hoist QB1 numbers. In the backfield, taking over the red zone duties, Kyle Dobbins is bulldozing his way to the top in touchdowns on the Owls offense. Second on the team in rushing attempts and 4 carries throughout the 4 games this season. All of those games having carries throughout this game. Performances have the Wagner not only mean more touches for the sophomore from here on out, but continue to take carries with the Wagner game success. On the other side of the ball, linebacker William Cuenca playing his position as well as you could ask for in weeks 1 through 4. 14 tackles and 3.5 tackles for 17 yards lost, as well as the team leader in sacks with 2 for 15 yards. Don't forget about the fumble recovery for a touchdown back in Week 2, which he followed up with a forced fumble versus Wagner in Week 4. The captain on defense has been fulfilling his position and role, and then some. In the trenches, defensive end Manny Walker leads the team in interceptions with 2 on the season, both taken right at the line of scrimmage. The forced turnovers go along with his 13 tackles, as he also ties for second on the team in sacks. These 4 players cracked the highlight list in weeks 1 through 4. Jackson Ray, did any players catch your eye that I missed to begin this season?
Well, personally, right now, I'm going to have to say Justin Lynch. I think you can't tell the beginning of the season story without him. Got a win in his first career start. What more can you expect from a true freshman?
I'm going with Adam Berry, the punter. He's averaging over 46 yards per punt. He's been called upon the 4th most of all American Athletic Conference punters. He's averaging better than he did last season.
Sounds good, gentlemen. We'll see how all these players show out in weeks 5 and beyond. Jackson Wright, back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Eric. It's time for our weekly Twitter poll, and I'm a little surprised with 25% of you. I'm looking at those of you who chose Wagner to win the game on Saturday. We tried to warn you, and Jackson was just 6 points off of predicting the final score. Nonetheless, our viewers and Twitter goers moved to 2-1 on the season. Our question this week is once again, who will win the homecoming game? Will the Tigers exact revenge for their last trip to Temple, or will the Owls pull off the upset? Log on to Twitter and visit @OwlSportsUpdate to vote.
Owl Sports Update will be back on Thursday. Make sure to tune into TUTV, where Josh Safran and Sage Hurley will be on desk bringing you Temple sports coverage. And then, each week this semester, our 3-show lineup, our Monday Sports Brief. We are here on Tuesdays with Inside the Nest, and finally Owl Sports Update on Thursdays, all semester long.
That's all the time we have for us this week. When we see you next, there will be a conference game in the books. The calendar will be flipped to October, and the Owls homestand will have come to a close.
Don't forget to follow our coverage for the Owls matchup on Saturday on our social media @OwlSportsUpdate. For Ray Dunn and the entire Inside the Nest crew, I'm Jackson Neal. See you next Tuesday.